Have you ever noticed how loneliness aches in a way no other pain does? It's not a physical hurt you can point to and say, "It's here," but a feeling that spreads through your whole body, a tightness in your chest that makes the silence of your home sound deafening. You stare at your phone hoping for a text, any text, from anyone to prove you exist to someone. And when that text doesn't come, you feel like you're slowly fading away, as if your existence depends on being seen, on being remembered, on being included. You spend hours scrolling through social media, watching other people laughing together, traveling together, living life together. And each photo feels like a confirmation that everyone else has figured out the secret to belonging somewhere except you. And then comes that question that cuts deeper than anything else. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just be okay on my own? Why does loneliness feel like a punishment, while for others it seems like freedom? The truth is, you're not broken, you're not defective. You simply never learned that loneliness isn't a sickness that needs to be cured, but a condition that can be transformed. And today, I'm going to show you how to trick your brain, how to reprogram this machine that was set up to fear silence, so you can finally discover that being alone can be the greatest gift you've ever given yourself. Let's start where it hurts the most. You know that moment when you get home after a full day of pretending everything's fine, and as soon as you close the door behind you, the weight crashes down all at once? That's when loneliness ambushes you. You try to distract yourself, turn on the TV, blast some music, grab your phone, anything to avoid being alone with your own thoughts. Because when you're left alone with yourself, all those questions you spent all day avoiding start to surface. Who am I when no one's watching? What do I really want when I don't have to please anyone? These questions are scary because you've been taught your whole life that your worth depends on others, that you're only someone when you're being seen, when you're being approved of, when you're part of something bigger than yourself. From childhood, you were told that being alone is sad, that happy people have tons of friends, that success means having a packed social calendar. And you believed it. You internalized that belief so deeply that now your brain interprets any moment of solitude as a sign of failure, as evidence that you're not good enough to be chosen, to be loved, to be included. But let me tell you a secret that changed everything for me, and can change everything for you too. Your brain is lying to you. It's interpreting loneliness as danger because it was programmed that way thousands of years ago, when being cast out of the group meant certain death. Back then, being alone was literally a death sentence. You couldn't hunt alone, you couldn't defend yourself from predators alone, you couldn't survive the winter alone. So your brain developed a powerful alarm system that triggers every time you're alone for too long. It's the same alarm that goes off when you're hungry or thirsty, because for your ancestors, loneliness was as dangerous as hunger or thirst. But here's the big reveal. You don't live in that world anymore. You won't die if you spend a weekend alone at home. You won't be attacked by a bear if you don't post a picture with friends every Saturday. Your brain is reacting to a threat that no longer exists. It's protecting you from a danger that disappeared centuries ago. And that's why you can trick it, you can reprogram it, you can teach it. That loneliness isn't a sign of danger, but an opportunity for something much greater. Think with me for a moment. How many times have you been in a crowded place feeling completely alone? How many times have you been surrounded by friends, but felt like no one truly saw you, understood you, knew you? That's the great irony of the human condition. You can be with people and feel lonely. You can be alone and feel whole. The loneliness that hurts isn't the physical absence of other people. It's the absence of real connection with yourself. It's that emptiness that no amount of company can fill, because the void is inside you, not outside. And you try to fill that void with empty conversations, superficial relationships, anything to distract you from the fact that you don't know yourself, you don't understand yourself. You don't value yourself enough to be in your own company. You've become a stranger to yourself, and now you're trying to use other people as mirrors, hoping they'll tell you who you are, that they'll give you a sense of identity you can't find on your own. But what if I told you all of this could change? What if you could wake up tomorrow and no longer feel that tightness in your chest when you realize you're going to spend the day alone? What if you could look at the weekend with no social plans and feel not dread, but anticipation? What if loneliness could transform from an enemy into an ally, from a punishment into a gift? This isn't fantasy, It's not shallow self-help. It's a real transformation that happens when you understand how your brain works and how you can work with it, not against it. Now, I need to pause here because I know you're feeling something as you read this. Maybe it's relief that finally someone understands what you're going through. Maybe it's sadness because you recognize your own story in these words. Maybe it's even a little anger realizing how much time you've wasted trying to run away from yourself. Whatever you're feeling, I want you to do something for me and for yourself. Leave a comment right now. It can be just one word. It can be a sentence. It can be your whole story if you want. Write this. I'm learning to be with myself. It might seem simple, it might seem silly, but when you write that, something shifts. You're making a public declaration. You're committing to this journey. You're telling yourself and the world that you're ready for this transformation. And you know what's even more powerful? When you leave that comment, you're helping someone else who's reading the comments right now, feeling alone, thinking they're the only one in the world who feels this way. Your comment might be exactly what they need to read today to realize they're not alone in this struggle. So go ahead, leave your comment, and let's keep this journey going together. Now let's get to what really matters. How do you trick your brain into liking solitude? The first thing you need to understand is that you're not going to convince your brain with logical arguments. You can't just tell yourself that being alone is good and expect the feeling to change. Your brain doesn't work that way. It needs experience. It needs concrete evidence that being alone isn't dangerous but enjoyable. It's like when you were afraid of heights and someone told you it was safe, but you only stopped feeling scared after climbing up high a few times and realizing nothing bad happened. Your brain needs to learn through experience that solitude won't hurt you, that you can not only survive it, but thrive in it. And for that, you need to create positive experiences of being alone. You need to associate being by yourself not with emptiness and boredom, but with pleasure and fulfillment. Start small. Pick an activity you genuinely enjoy, not something you think you should like, but something that truly brings you joy. It could be reading a book, it could be cooking, it could be a walk in the park, it could be drawing, it could be anything. The only rule is that you have to do it completely by yourself. No music, no podcast, nothing to distract you from being present with yourself. And here's the trick. You're going to do it for just 15 minutes, not 3 hours, not all day, just 15 minutes. Why? Because your brain is used to associating solitude with discomfort that lasts forever. When you set a clear time limit, you're telling your brain this is safe, this is temporary, you have control. And when those 15 minutes are up and you realize you not only survived but maybe even enjoyed it, something starts to shift. Your brain begins to form a new association. Solitude no longer means endless danger. It means a manageable experience that can even be pleasant. Do this every day. 15 minutes of intentional solitude, doing something you chose to do, not because you have no one to hang out with, but because you decided to invest that time in yourself. And pay attention to what happens in the first few days. You'll probably feel that familiar restlessness, that urge to grab your phone, to turn on the TV, to do anything to break the silence. Don't do it. Sit with the discomfort. Observe it without judgment, without trying to make it disappear. Just acknowledge that it's there, that it's uncomfortable, but that it's not dangerous. It's like learning to meditate. At first, your mind is all over the place wanting to escape, but over time you learn that you can be with your thoughts without drowning in them. And then, suddenly, maybe on the 4th day, maybe in the 2nd week, something shifts. You realize you're genuinely enjoying that time alone. You realize those 15 minutes have become your favorite part of the day. You realize your brain has stopped sounding alarms and started producing something different, something you didn't expect. Peace. But there's more. Solitude isn't just about being physically alone, it's about being mentally present with yourself. And for that, you need to quiet all those voices in your head that aren't really yours. You know which voices I'm talking about. They're the voices telling you you should be more social, more popular, more like that person everyone loves. They're the voices of your parents saying you need a partner to be happy. They're the voices of society saying you only have value if you're producing, if you're contributing, if you're useful to someone. These voices prevent you from discovering who you truly are when all expectations are removed, when no one is watching, when you finally have permission to just be exactly who you are without apology. And here's the hardest part to accept, but also the most liberating. You might not like the person you've become to please others. Maybe when you finally sit alone with yourself, you realize you've built an entire life based on what others wanted from you, not what you truly wanted. Maybe you realize your tastes, your interests, your ambitions, even your opinions, none of it is really yours. It's all been borrowed, copied, adapted to make you acceptable, to make you belong. And that realization hurts. It hurts to realize you've spent years molding yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. It hurts to realize you sacrificed your authenticity for the illusion of belonging. But you know what hurts even more? Continuing to live that lie. Continuing to be a stranger to yourself. Continuing to run from the only person you're going to spend your entire life with. You. Solitude offers you something no amount of company can, the chance to reinvent yourself. When you're alone, you don't have to keep up the facade, you don't have to play the character everyone expects you to be. You can finally take off the mask and look at the face beneath it. And yes, you might not like what you see at first. You might see weaknesses, fears, insecurities you've spent years hiding. But you'll also see something else. You'll see strength you didn't know you had, because you never needed to use it when you were always relying on others. You'll see creativity that's been dormant, because you were always consuming others' ideas instead of creating your own. You'll see desires and dreams you buried so deep you forgot they existed. And slowly, moment by moment, day by day, you'll begin to build a completely new relationship with yourself. Not a relationship based on judgment or disappointment, but one based on curiosity and compassion. Think about how you treat a good friend. When your friend is going through a tough time, you don't abandon them, you don't judge them, you don't tell them they should be different. You stand by them, you listen, you offer support unconditionally. Why don't you do that for yourself? Why, when you're struggling, is your first reaction to criticize yourself, to punish yourself, to reject yourself? You think if you're hard enough on yourself, you'll finally transform into the person you think you should be. But that never works. Criticizing yourself doesn't make you grow. It makes you shrink. It makes you afraid to try, afraid to fail, afraid to be seen. Solitude can be the space where you finally learn to be your own best friend, where you practice speaking to yourself in the same kind and encouraging way you would speak to someone you love. And you know what's fascinating? When you stop being afraid of being alone, when you stop avoiding it at all costs, your relationships with other people change completely. You stop clinging to people out of desperation, out of fear of being by yourself. You stop accepting scraps of attention just to avoid feeling invisible. You stop keeping toxic friendships just because the alternative seems worse. You start choosing the people in your life based not on who's available, but on who genuinely adds something valuable to your existence. You start valuing quality over quantity, depth over superficiality, and most surprisingly of all, people start being more drawn to you. Because now you're not radiating need and desperation, you're radiating wholeness and self-sufficiency. You've become someone who doesn't need other people to feel complete, but who chooses to share their life with them. And that's a completely different energy, an energy that magnetizes instead of repels. But let's be honest here. There are days when all of this feels impossible. There are days when the loneliness weighs so heavily you can barely get out of bed. There are days when you do everything right, you practice being with yourself, you're kind to yourself, but still the emptiness feels unbearable. On those days, remember that transformation isn't linear. You won't wake up one day completely healed, completely comfortable with solitude. It'll be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There will be good days and bad days. There will be moments when you feel strong and independent, and moments when you just want someone to hold you and tell you everything's going to be okay. And it's okay to feel both of those things. You don't have to choose between being strong and needing help, between loving solitude and craving companionship. You're complex enough to contain multitudes, to be a walking paradox, to want contradictory things at the same time. The secret isn't to eliminate the desire for human connection entirely. That desire is natural, it's healthy, it's part of what makes you human. The secret is not to let that desire consume you, not to let it dictate every decision you make, not to let it keep you from being present in your own life while you wait for someone to save you from loneliness. Because the hard truth, the truth nobody wants to tell you, is that nobody is going to save you. Nobody can save you. You can find wonderful people who will love you, support you, keep you company, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be you, with your thoughts, your fears, your insecurities. And if you don't learn to be okay with yourself, no amount of external love will fill that internal void. You'll keep seeking validation, keep seeking approval, keep seeking proof that you're worthy of love, and it will never be enough, because the only approval that truly matters, the only validation that truly fills, has to come from within. So let's talk about what it really means to trick your brain. It's not about cheap tricks or productivity hacks. It's about completely reprogramming how you relate to yourself and to the world. It's about questioning every single belief you have about what makes you valuable, about what makes you happy, about what makes you whole. It's about dismantling, brick by brick, the edifice of lies you've built about who you should be, and starting over, building something true, something authentic, something that's actually yours. And that doesn't happen overnight, that's a lifelong endeavor. But every small step in that direction is a victory. It's a declaration that you're no longer going to live on someone else's terms, that you're going to create your own terms, that you're going to define for yourself what constitutes a life well lived. Imagine waking up on a Sunday with no plans, and instead of panic, feeling possibility. Imagine spending a night alone at home, and instead of obsessively checking your phone, you lose yourself in a project that fascinates you. Imagine making decisions based not on what will impress others, or what will make you seem more popular, but on what genuinely resonates with who you are. Imagine the freedom of not needing to explain your choices to anyone, of not needing to justify why you'd rather stay in and read than go to a party, of not needing to feign interest in conversations that bore you just to keep up appearances. That freedom is available to you right now, not in some distant future when you've finally figured all your problems out, but now, today, this very moment. All you have to do is decide that you're ready to stop running from yourself and start truly knowing yourself. And here's the most beautiful part of this whole journey. When you finally learn to be okay on your own, when you finally make peace with solitude, something magical happens. You realize you were never truly alone to begin with. You were always with yourself. You always had your own company, but you were so busy running, so desperate for distraction, that you never stopped to realize that you yourself are interesting, you are valuable, you are worthy of your own time and attention. You realize you've spent your whole life looking outside yourself for what's always been within. You realize the person you were waiting for to rescue you is you. And that realization, that pivot, is the moment everything changes. It's the moment you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your own existence. It's the moment you stop waiting for life to happen to you and start making life happen through you. You don't need anyone's permission to start this journey. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment doesn't exist. You don't need to have everything figured out before you begin, because figuring things out is the process, not the prerequisite. All you need is the willingness to sit with yourself for 15 minutes, to look in the mirror and really see who's looking back, to ask the hard questions and have the courage to hear the true answers. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. It will challenge you in ways you don't expect. It will force you to confront truths you've spent years avoiding. But on the other side of that discomfort is something worth more than all the gold in the world. You will find yourself. And when you find yourself, when you finally know the person you are, when all the masks come off, you discover that person is infinitely more interesting, more capable, more resilient than you ever imagined. Solitude stops being a sentence and becomes a sanctuary, a place you can retreat to reconnect with yourself when the world gets too loud, a place where you can process your experiences, integrate your lessons, dream your dreams without interference or judgment, a place where you can be completely vulnerable because there's no one to impress, no one to let down, no one whose expectations you need to meet. And in this sanctuary, you begin to cultivate something precious, something nobody can take away from you, a deep, honest, and loving relationship with yourself. This relationship becomes the foundation of everything else in your life. It gives you stability when everything else is falling apart. It gives you clarity when tough decisions need to be made. It gives you strength when you need to get back up after you fall. Because now you really know, that no matter what happens out there, you'll always have yourself, and that's enough. And if you've made it this far with me in this conversation, if these words have resonated with something inside you, I want to extend an invitation. This channel isn't about distant philosophy or abstract concepts that have no real-world application. It's about using deep ideas to transform how you live, how you think, how you relate to yourself and the world. Every video here is a tool to help you live with more authenticity, more strength, more purpose. If this is something you want more of in your life, hit that subscribe button now. Give it a thumbs up so more people can find this content when they're searching for answers in tough times. And turn on notifications because I post new videos regularly, each one exploring a different dimension of the human experience through philosophical lenses that truly make a difference. You're not alone on this journey, even when you're by yourself. There's a whole community here of people doing the same work, who understand the struggle, who celebrate the wins, big and small. And I'll be here every week, bringing you more perspectives, more insights, more tools to help you build the life you actually want to live, not the life others tell you you should live. So come along with me on this path. Your future self will thank you for taking this step today.